and now they're praising Joe Biden as if like what we accomplished world peace now that we have Trump out of the picture. Like they're acting like, oh, we got this bad guy out, and they treat it like, oh, it's like a movie now. Like we defeated the bad guy in the movie, and now we have a happy ending.
This is the
But
Wizard of
Yeah,
Oz.
while the country's still going to shit.
yeah, yeah. So
This is the Wizard of Oz for them.
we're not seeing anything that fundamentally changed, right? Like was Biden even the lesser evil? Is there anything that's significantly different between the two? I don't see anything that's significantly different. And what we're about to get into right now with how Joe Biden is going to continue to pursue extradition on Julian Assange, press freedom is still it's still in danger, and we have to keep talking about Julian Assange. Spread the word as much as you can. Talk about Julian Assange and what's happening. It affects all of us. The censorship that's happening right now is affecting all of us. So real quick, I'm gonna pull up this next story. We're gonna move on to the next topic here. So this was published on Axios. So the Biden administration signals it will continue effort to prosecute Julian Assange. The Biden administration has indicated it will continue to press for the extradition of Julian Assange from the United Kingdom and prosecute the WikiLeaks founder in the United States, according to the New York Times. Driving the news, the Justice Department filed a brief on Thursday asking a British court to overturn a ruling that blocked Assange's extradition to U.S. as human rights and civil liberties groups urged acting Attorney General Monty Wilkinson to abandon the prosecution. Context: a British court judge blocked Assange's extradition in January because of the high risk of suicide in U.S. custody. Assange faces up to 175 years in prison if he is sent to the U.S. and found guilty of all 18 counts in the indictment filed against him. Why it matters. Human rights and civil liberties groups argued to Wilkinson that the case the Trump administration brought against Assange could establish precedent that would threaten press freedom. The case has raised significant questions about First Amendment prosecutions for publishers of classified information. Assange says he was acting as a journalist when he published leaked documents on U.S. actions in Iraq and Afghanistan. The U.S. government has argued he should not be protected under press freedom, saying in court that his actions went beyond the work of journalism. No, they did not. What they're saying, journalists have no constitutional right to break into a government office or hack into a government computer or bribe a government employee to get information, President Biden said, written statement to the Times in 2019. There was no bribery of any government employee. So Biden is talking out of his ass. We should be hesitant to prosecute a journalist who has done nothing more than receive a publish confidential information and has not otherwise broken the law. What are your hopes on Assange, Tom? What do you make of this information?
It's interesting with Assange, and if we want to talk about just the coverage of Assange, this is a little anecdote, and this happened even before I started my YouTube channel. On Facebook, I would post things, and there's, I don't know, 30, 40 people that will like every single post I do, no matter what I do. So, oh, here's a picture of my dog. Here's 60 likes or something. The entire time I've had Facebook, and I haven't used it in the last, I don't know, year or two. The only time I've received 0 likes is 2 things that I posted about Assange. And I am convinced that those posts were hidden from everyone because my mom didn't even like it, and she likes everything I post everywhere. So it seems really clear to me that the entire media, unfortunately, is against Assange and any promotion of his freedom. And that just seems to be antithetical to what the press is supposed to be. In many ways, I feel like it is I don't like to divide people on like one issue. Like if someone disagrees with me on one issue, that shouldn't be a thing. But Assange really is that with me. When I see politicians, especially politicians that pretend to be on the left or the far left, and they are silent about this issue, it really tells me that they're not on my team.
Yeah. So right now, it's none of them except for like Thomas Massie and Matt Gaetz, I think, are the only ones that have spoken out about Assange. And then the biggest leaders in the progressive movement don't even acknowledge Assange's existence. Like where the fuck is AOC and like all these other progressives who are supposed to be like champions for us? Where are they? Like they're not standing up for this guy who exposed war crimes, right? So go ahead, Dontel. What do you think about all this?
So all right, to the point you just made about like where are they? Like, so you can't. This is why I don't understand people who are still giving them the benefit of the doubt. Like, this is one of those things where it's open and shut. There's no two ways about it. Yeah. It's not open for interpretation. There's no both sides to it. He published documents that exposed war crimes, us doing genocide, aimlessly murdering civilians and covering it up. That's what he showed. And because of that, the national security apparatus, they want his head. So did they come up with this bullshit prosecution, and they're going to go after him and say it's not because he was doing journalism, it's because reason this, and it was something we're going to claim he hacked into a government computer or whatever it is. Like, they're clearly coming up with whatever rationalization that they could come up with to prosecute somebody who embarrassed the national security state. And the fact that these elected progressives are quiet on it, it's not that they don't know what's going on. It's not like they don't get the threat that this poses to investigative journalists around the world or the anti-war movement. They get these things, but they've made the calculation. It's better for my career. Things will go a lot smoother for me in the Democratic Party if I just don't say anything about Julian Assange. While our government is torturing him, while our government is trying to extradite him to lock him up in prison for the rest of his life if they don't just outright try to assassinate him, while our government is doing all of this, they see it, they know how serious this is, and they know how bullshit any of the claims that they're trying to make against him are, but they still won't say a word about it. He's been in prison for since 2019, I believe it was. And like, you telling me during that whole time, they just been so busy that they just couldn't find any time to talk about Julian Assange. It's crazy. It's crazy. And Bernie Sanders, it's even worse for him because Julian Assange, even though this is not what he's being prosecuted for, but Julian Assange, he stuck his neck out there, and he published those WikiLeaks showing the DNC emails and the emails from the Hillary Clinton campaign that show that they rigged the primary in broad daylight in 2016 so that they can cheat Bernie Sanders, so that they could cheat the left for their preferred establishment favorite candidate.
Your audio went out. He'll come back in a second.
The 2016 primary, what we thought would happen in the 2016 primary, it wouldn't have been confirmed had it not been for WikiLeaks publishing those documents. And for Bernie Sanders, the person who was cheated, the person whose supporters and volunteers were robbed during that primary, for that same person to see Julian Assange be prosecuted and persecuted in the way that he has been for doing journalism, and you don't even say a fucking word about it, you have no integrity. You are just spineless, and you just whatever the Democratic Party says, you're gonna go along with. And it's such a like this whole mythology about Bernie Sanders being an upstanding guy with a man of principle and morals and things like that. That is all bullshit. And his silence on Julian Assange it personifies that. And you can't. And another thing, you can't tell me you're an anti-interventionist. You can't tell me you're against all of our illegal military interventions that we're doing all around the world, the genocide for profit we're doing all. You can't tell me you're against that. But then when somebody who has made the biggest advancements towards moving us to exposing these wars for what they really are, to try to get the public outraged enough so that they do something to stop these wars. When that person is being prosecuted for that very act of exposing empire, you can't tell me you're an anti-interventionist and you're quiet and you're going to sit idly by while empire drops the hammer on him for exposing war crimes, for doing the anti-war movement that you claim to be a part of a gigantic favor and giving us these documents that really show what we're doing around the world. You can't keep telling me you're an anti-interventionist and you're going to be silent on Julian Assange.
But don't tell.
And then
I was gonna say, didn't you know that Bernie and AOC are just playing like 4D chess, and that Bernie is silent because AOC is gonna be president in 2036, and then in 2036, that's when she'll stand up for Assange. But right now, we just have to put through, wait for Kamala to be president for 10 years, and then we'll get Assange freed in 2036. That's the fucking logic that these people who support Bernie and the AOC use.
Yeah, I remember Tim Black was saying that all the time during the primary. He's like, "Oh, you expect Bernie to stick his neck out there for Julian Assange, this issue that nobody cares about, but no, he just has to get through this primary, and then when he's president, then he's gonna come to the defense of Julian Assange." Well, he lost the primary, and Julian Assange is still being prosecuted, and Bernie still hasn't said a goddamn word about it.
All right, let's bring Marcus Cage in here. You see, are you buying this 4D chess, or is it 5D? I don't remember. 6D chess? What are they playing?
Depending on whose team they're on.
Yeah.
Because, you know what? That's right. I forgot. We're on Rock Band. Let's just go on ahead and call. And you're not monetized anyway. So
yeah.
Let's just go right on out there and say what I really think. They're complete controlled opposition. Point blank, 100%. Period. Controlled opposition. Now, maybe at some point, Bernie might have been some of those things, which I believe he was. But whether by hook or by crook, they found a way to get him. And so whether he did something, he had his own, what was it, Chippequata, which Kennedy had, whether he had some kind of situation like that, which they're hanging over his head, whether they gave him an offer he just couldn't refuse, I don't know. But I believe he got that. I believe AOC got that. And all the whole new crop of Dems are all the same way. That's that big old club that we're not in. But this is how I look at it. We got to look at why these people, even though it's switched to a new administration, people think, well, what's President Biden? Well, he should have, maybe he's going to have an open-minded viewpoint or change. We got to keep in mind, the Obama administration wanted him too. They were upset about other things which he was leaking about war crimes earlier, before it got into the election. And so how I see it is, we have the State Department, which is pissed at him. You have the Pentagon pissed at him. You have NSA pissed at him. You have the Clintons pissed at him. You have Obama pissed at him. And we got to keep in mind, President that sounds so weird. President Joe Biden was also in that administration, which was part of all those things also. And then he was also, you know, I believe strongly that he was probably going to end up being her vice president. Well, if some other things didn't happen earlier. And if you go back to some of the stuff that was going on with Biden's sons, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But and this goes way before all this Ukraine stuff that we're talking about now. His family is a hot mess, just like the Trumps are a hot mess. But to me, this is simple. You got somebody who was embarrassed on the world stage, who holds hardcore grudges. And if you become that person's enemy, and I'm talking about Hillary Clinton, you're an enemy for life. And I feel like Obama didn't like that they put a little blemishes on his, you know, storybook, you know, legacy media spin of his presidency. And then, of course, you know, you put all of that together with the ability to do it with a media that's going to be completely favorable. To me, this is basically, I wrote down a little term. I call it, this will be a high-tech Gaddafi. I mean, I hate to be negative. I mean, I hate to see anybody get railroaded unfairly. But looking at the powers that be and their motivations, one way or another, this man is about to get railroaded.
Yeah. Tom, you want to jump in?
No, I agree.
And so like that's one of the most frustrating things about this is like you're watching like this happen, like it's a slow motion train wreck. Because we keep talking about Julian Assange, keep posting videos about it. Misty and all those people at Action for Assange do the vigils and all the protests and things like that. And it seems like
he'll be back.
to the US, it's like the whole case on its face. If anybody's being serious, it's clear that more than anything, even if they think he broke a law, it's really that they're trying to get back at him for embarrassing the national security state. And this whole thing is a farce, and everybody keep going along and pretending like these are serious court proceedings and things like that. Like, no. And if they were actually concerned about going after people breaking the law, if they were actually concerned about justice, and you know they aren't making exceptions for anybody, and they think Julian Assange broke a law, so we have to go after Julian Assange, and he didn't break any laws; he did journalism. But even if they think he did break a law, you think what Julian Assange did was worse than all those people who were caught doing murder and covering it up all over Iraq and Afghanistan? You think what Julian Assange did, he's top priority. And before they prosecute any of those people, before they prosecute the people who in the collateral murder video, who were in the attack helicopter and murdered innocent civilians on the ground, children, Reuters journalists, the first responders who came to try to take the injured people to the hospital, and laughed about it the whole way, you think that what Julian Assange did merits prosecution above them? Because that just, it exposes this whole thing as a sham that it is. Because those people did murder on camera. Did any of them get prosecuted? No, they didn't. But the person who published that and made that public, oh, what a coincidence! That's the person who's gets all the ire in the full force of the government going after him. So it's like no matter what they do, from the dragging him out of the embassy, from when they did that, I'm like, oh, so there's no line that they won't cross to get Julian Assange at this point. And it's just, it feels like, and it's not me saying, all right, everybody just give up, go home, whatever happens, happen. It just feels like no matter what we do, they're coming for his head. and it's gonna like they want to send a message, and nothing that anybody does is gonna stop them from doing it.
Yeah, I just
and can I add something onto that? I don't want any of our friends and colleagues out there, you know, who are putting out videos and passionately and trying to fight and at least be some kind of a defense for him out here, because our politicians obviously don't give a damn. That's the reason why I feel like no politicians are saying anything. If it's just us, it's easy for them to ignore us, and you know, we become a blip that you don't hear about. But because some of the charges are dispersing confidential information. Well, how many reporters in America, most of their stories come from confidential sources releasing confidential information, and as long as they don't divulge the name, they kind of let it go or something. I mean, but this is done all the time with the ABC, CBS, you know, Washington Post, all of these major publications. And so what that means is these people who are being quiet in the mainstream, they don't realize it, but this is my thinking on it. Eventually, they're going to come for them also, because one of them are going to decide, hey, I saw this one, whatever story happened. Say it's a protest going on and a cop kicks some kid and their head cracks, you know, on the pavement. And they talk about it and they're passionate about it and they keep going on, and that video gets deleted or something. And then they decide to do follow-up videos. How long before they get in trouble for somebody telling them about the fact that it was deleted? I mean, it's a slippery slope. And I mean, I don't want anybody out there who's fighting for Assange to feel like I'm trying to crap on anything, you know, that they're doing. I just am a little bit more pessimistic and look at that when this government decides it wants to do something, it's not much any of us can really do to stop it.
Yeah. And real quick, I know you want to move on, Franco, but the point about the politicians not doing anything. Can you imagine, and I talked about this last video I did about Julian Assange. Like, we're doing all this and we're trying to get all this grassroots energy and into trying to get Julian Assange free. But and this makes it even more excusable, the silence from these elected progressives. If Bernie, AOC, Ilhan Omar, all the most popular politicians in the country, AOC alone has 10 million Twitter followers. If they put a public pressure campaign to get Joe Biden to drop these charges, after the judge in the UK already ruled that against the extradition request, if they put all this pressure and put the spotlight on not only what this case is about, but the fact that they already lost it in the original extradition request, if they put all this public pressure on Joe Biden and shame the shit out of him for trying to prosecute a journalist who exposed war crimes, I think they could actually win that fight. I think the public pressure the heat would be too much, that Joe Biden would really look like a fucking asshole if he continued this prosecution. But the fact that they aren't saying anything, and it's not what all the work we're doing isn't getting enough pressure to actually to force Joe Biden to force him into a corner. If these elected progressives actually did anything, they could actually get the results that we want, and they could shame Joe Biden just enough that he would be like, all right, fuck it, we can't do this because it's too public, it's too brazen now. Let's just drop the charges. And so the fact that they're not doing anything is even more inexcusable.
I cannot understand how channels like Majority Report, TYT, David Dole, like Humanist Report, like they treat AOC and like all these other progressives like untouchable. Like, oh, we can't pressure them to do anything. We can't pressure them to talk about Assange. We can't pressure them to try the strategy that Dontel just said. Like we can't do that because we'll be hurting her feelings, or I don't know, like it's gonna ruin her career. Like what? Like we're gonna have her back if she's gonna be standing up for Assange. Like what are you talking about? And the sycophants will also still have her back. So it just makes no sense to me how they do that. And they're going to be coming after all of us. I don't remember which stream it was. I think it was one that I had Charles on for. I don't remember who else was here. But the most recent stimulus bill that gave us nothing, but those like $600, which is pretty much nothing. Part of what was in that bill, from what I remember, don't quote me if I'm wrong, has a part in it that says like we can't, like there's like a streamer thing in there where we can't show anything from the mainstream news, otherwise it's like a felony. Like if we're showing like a clip from the mainstream news, that's directly targeting independent media. So it's gonna keep, the aggression towards us is gonna keep getting worse. They're trying to silence us. They know we're a threat. They like the ratings for mainstream media is going down, and people are tuning into independent media like us because we're exposing them, and people want the truth. They're seeing that mainstream media is not genuine anymore. All they were really tuning into them for is because a lot of them were buying into the fear mongering about Trump. So I mean the demonetization of channels like mine, like Convo Couch, Nico, Graham Elwood, that's just one step. Like imagine by the end of Joe Biden's term, remember, look at who's in his administration, Avril Haines, all these people that have ties to intelligence and big tech, like they are pushing for censorship. And the first thing that they started with was the COVID stuff. That's why they went after channels like The Last American Vagabond. That's why they went after the Conscious Resistance. So yeah, I agree with what Marcus was saying earlier, that this is going to get worse. They're already suppressing videos that talk about Julian Assange. They're the videos that I get the least amount of views in. And I don't think it's because people are not interested. I think it's because the system is doing something with those videos to reduce the views. And like what Tom was also saying, like on Facebook, you can't even like talk about it. Like your family won't even see the post, or they're probably suppressing likes. Either way, they don't want that to get out there.
Well, like Dontel was saying, with all they like, maybe it's not that we're not getting the buzz out there. Maybe that the buzz was getting out there, and that's where more of the crackdown. They're like, okay, we already know with this whole forced to vote thing that came up, that was already bothering them, and they know we plan on doing whatever we plan on doing with Assange. However, we plan on making this work out. And they know that that's going to be an outcry across independent left media. And well, not even just left media, because there are plenty of, I guess, third party also libertarians. I don't want to leave them out. But I know that outcry that would come, they're trying to just start shutting all the windows, closing all the doors, so it can minimize the critiques. So what they will do is they will come out with the mainstream media, or even Biden, what he'll do is, well, it was so close and it was a tough decision, and we just had to, they're going to be all heartfelt and all heartbroken, that they had to do it. But the end result is they still did what we all are assuming that they're going to do. And then they're going to have a couple of media people who will come out and say, oh, well, I don't know. That was maybe wrong what they did with Assange. Talk about it for a day or two, let it go away, instead of it going viral through independent media and us bitching about it forever and them having to cover it for much longer.
Yeah. Anyone else want to add on to that? Is Dontel frozen?
Yeah. I'm curious what Tom thinks.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
I was trying to think of a positive, just a hypothetical positive thing that we could do.
I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, no, I know. Is there anyone, maybe not a politician, because obviously it seems all politicians are not open to this. Is there anyone that we could target to try to talk about this? Is there a bigger YouTuber? Is there a TV celebrity? Is there someone that we could try to get to talk about Julian Assange. You know,
I can think
something.
of a former representative who has been kind of making her way around some of the independent media platforms that I feel like it. Granted, they do kind of censor her also, but more people are willing to listen to her than just us, because they just assume, oh, we're just random people who just hopped on the internet, one day. And to a degree, that is somewhat true. But some of these people that they see which hop on these panels, some of us actually do a lot of research and put pride into our work. So we're not just hopping on and making a video for shit's sake.
Right. And so, like, overall, like, what we do going forward about Julian Assange, I mean, it's hard to say where we should go. For me, like, I know it's like none of the politicians, like, they're still trying to ignore him, but I think that's for me right now, that's the best option that we have. If AOC and their 10 million Twitter followers could go out on a tweet storm or do a stage of protest or whatever to pressure Joe Biden, I do think that would be helpful. And if she doesn't do that, it shouldn't just be like, oh, let's just shrug our shoulders and she's not going to do it. Like, I think we should just go balls to the wall and do everything we can to shame her into doing that, because that's the whole reason, like, why they were even elected to begin with. It's because a lot of these fights, yeah, we get it that they're uphill battles and a lot of times they might be losing fights, but at least we have somebody in the room making the argument, making the case for the left position, for the anti-war position. And if you have these people elected, put in these positions, specifically for moments like this when we need somebody to actually buck the establishment, and they're not going to do it, I'm going to fucking rake them over the coals. And sorry for cursing, forget this down my street. I want to rake them over the coals and shame them and make it so that it's like they can't ignore this. Because if you're not going to buck the establishment, and this gets to the beef with them to be like overall, if you're not going to buck the establishment, you should not be getting any support from the left. I don't care if you do it and you lose. I don't care if it's a real hard fight and you take some losses. I don't care. But if you're just not going to try at all, then you shouldn't be elected, keep getting elected, and keep getting these donations and people volunteering to keep electing you to do what? So it seems like, yeah, there is a concerted effort. They are putting effort and energy into ignoring Julian Assange, but I don't think I'm not going to let them just get away with that. I do think we should keep the pressure up, and what strategy we should do to get them to talk about it, I don't know. Maybe I think we should just be fucking bombarding them, like people in left new media, independent reporters, like. Anytime you could get a chance to run across them with a video camera and a microphone, ask them, grill them on Julian Assange. And that's why it's like, what the fuck is like TYT doing then? What, like, all these people who do have access to these politicians, like, you have them and you get to talk to them and you get to, nobody else is going to grill them and pressure them to support the left position. But all these people who do have access to them and they're not using that opportunity to like force them to talk about Julian Assange and to force them to support Julian Assange and support the efforts to drop the charges. Like, so then what the fuck are you doing?
They're just comfortable talking about all these problems and then not seeing any of it get fixed. Like they're comfortable with that. Like that's just how they've been settled. Like they don't care if there's any solutions. And if there are, they think that they're gonna run out of things to talk about. But yeah, that's a great point, Dontel. Like, there's so many people out there who watch platforms like Jimmy Dore, who like Jimmy Dore does talk about Assange, who watch Slow News Day, who watch my channel, your channel, Coffee and Nuance, Marcus's channel. There's people, like, take the opportunity. We're all journalists. That's why the saying is, we are all Assange. You have your phone. If you ever are in DC, if you ever get the opportunity, you run into AOC or any of these Congress people, pull out your phone, record them, ask them about Assange and what they're going to do. Say that this is the most important press freedom trial of our lifetime. Why aren't they fighting for it? Call them out on their bullshit if they use like State Department talking points like, oh, he used classified information, blah, blah. Call them out on that shit. It's like, what? So the New York Times, like, they're the only ones that are allowed to do it? It's complete BS. And Tom, were you were saying that we need somebody like with a big platform who's like a celebrity. I instantly started thinking about Joe Rogan. He needs to have Jimmy Dore or somebody back on again to tell him to talk more about Assange. What do you guys think?
Okay,
go ahead, Tom.
So, yeah, no, that's great. But I'm saying, could we even let's go micro, like Joe Rogan's, the biggest podcaster in the world. Sure, it'd be great if someone could get through to him. Obviously, that would be great. Is there someone with 50,000 subs that we could get talking about this? Like, is there I don't know, some minor celebrity, some rock star, some
like
model?
Justin Jackson just made a YouTube
now
channel.
Now you're thinking.
Yeah, he just launched his channel. Yeah. He's obviously going to pass all us in subs by the end of the week.
He just passed me today.
He gonna pass me tomorrow.
Yeah, he's creeping up on Unapologetic. But I think it's good. I was talking to my buddy Brooks from HMO Podcast earlier about how this might open the gate with the sports world, like building a bridge with the political world and the sports world. Like he can have on other football players on his channel. Why doesn't he take the opportunity to like inform them about Assange, like get the word out? The Convo Couch is also talking to him about what are you going to have on your cleats. There was a poll out there like what message you will have. There was like Medicare for all, and homelessness. Free Assange is one of those options, and I voted for that because that's the one that is talked about the least. Medicare for all, there's polls that show the majority of Republicans support that already. I think that the message is out there that we need Medicare for all, but there needs to be more talk about Assange, and football being a sport in which a lot of conservatives watch. There's a lot of overlap there, and there will be a lot of agreeing when you talk about freedom of speech and press freedom. Like if he has that on his cleats, imagine what impact that would do.
Right.
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
That's next fall.
Yeah.
It's what's it, February, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just saying, and this is something we don't have to come up with now, but if there were someone that we could target, a model, an Instagram model, a rock
Instagram
star,
model,
like whatever, would it be possible for us to get someone bigger than us to talk about it? I think that's
real
a good
quick,
challenge.
Marcus, I'm gonna let you go. So something that I've noticed is anybody who doesn't like already who hasn't already been brainwashed into thinking that Julian Assange is some type of mastermind, cynical villain or whatever. Even some people who do think that, once you actually present people with the facts about what happened and why he's being prosecuted, it's very rare that people would still support the prosecution of Julian Assange. So it's like one of those things that I think that the more people know, it's not like, oh, so we're just going to have a debate about it. I think it's just pretty clear cut. Anybody who sees it, like, oh, so they're just trying to prosecute him because he embarrassed the government and he exposed their crimes.
Go ahead, Marcus.
See, my idea is, and I think this helps with what Dontel's talking about, and I think this might be a possible solution for what Tom is asking about. Republicans hate the Clintons, and they're not fond of Obama either. And if we do more emphasis on connecting the two, because Republicans are simple. Now, I know a lot of people on the left are like, they're listening to this, but what I want them to think about is sometimes this is like that movie Twist, which you see where they've been enemies all along, and then this other enemy that comes bigger than both, and now they need to bond together to fight off this worst enemy. This is like that point in the movie where we could pull our own 3D or 4D chess. Granted, status-wise, we're technically pawns, but we don't always have to think like a pawn. We can be bishops, we can be knights. And so if we can start molding our message to bring in some of those which normally we wouldn't be able to stand or couldn't find very much agreements on, if we can just focus on that one issue, one singular issue, and leave all the other politics aside, say, okay, we'll deal with Medicare later. You guys want to fight about freedom of speech, Second Amendment, we'll deal with all that later. But we'll just deal on this one issue. And if we started building more movements off of handling each issue individually, then we might be able to actually get some traction, because they can shut us down on independent media. They might even kind of marginalize a celebrity or get to them and start paying them off. But I don't see them being able to do that with all of right-wing media.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, it's just a thought, because Republicans, they're once they've decided that this person, just like the Clintons, once they've decided this person is the enemy, they're not going to just back off of it, and they're not going to be quiet about it. I mean, we saw what just happened in the Capitol. Whether you're in the school of thought, which I know none of us are, that Trump just like gave them the perfect, green light, and he choreographed this whole thing. Or you believe that these people were just pissed off and waiting for an opportunity to tear up some shit. And the Capitol literally had all of this information and knew it was coming, but somehow didn't have more police on staff and whatever. But we can go into a whole year-long, inquiry on trying to figure out why you guys couldn't just simply pay attention to the threat assessment that you were getting and deal accordingly. Yeah. Me personally, all it needs is somebody needs to be fired or figured out who didn't do what. It doesn't take a whole lot of, and that's the thing we have to look at with Congress. They keep trying to make the smallest little thing, it needs to be this big panel 9/11 Kennedy style, and we got to just call them out on this stupid bullshit. And think about it. It doesn't even really sound like it makes any fucking sense, but we let them say that over and over. I mean, if we can't get to the politicians, some of you guys are in New York. I know I'm in California. If we're just so happen to be walking around a certain area and one of the newscasters gets off, pop out your phone and start asking them questions.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it can work the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys heard it here. You guys are all, like I've said it before on my show, like they don't wait for somebody to like come save you. Like you are the hero. Like you have the ability to do journalism. Like, you have a phone. So do everything you can, with the limited resources that you have to get the truth out there. Take any opportunity that you can. Because as long as one more person can get informed from the thing that you do, then that's enough. It's the domino effect will continue and more people will continue to get informed. And real quick, before we close off here, there is one thing that I forgot to say during the discussion about Assange, and I'm glad that Tom is here because he had a video about Navalny. But look at the hypocrisy of how all these politicians and how they're outraged about what's happening to Navalny, the guy who said Muslims are like cockroaches and they should be banned to the Caucasus Mountain. Like, this guy is disgusting. Like, they're outraged about him and how he needs to replace Putin. But they're completely silent on Assange. And Richard Medhurst had an excellent video about that. But just real quick, before we close off here, what are your thoughts on that, Tom?
Tom.
Yeah, and then Danto.
No, it is very, very true about him. Definitely, if he were here in the U.S., he would get the Alex Jones, Milo treatment. He would have no Twitter. He would have no YouTube. He would be banished from all social media based on what he's done. So, yeah, but this doesn't surprise us because, that's what they do.
And it just shows that like they're just tools to the Democratic Party. Because if they really cared about political prisoners, if they really cared about people being locked up for free speech, Julian Assange is the most perfect example or the most sympathetic character you can find. But they don't care about the principle. They will only do it because that's the narrative that the Democratic Party is trying to push. They're incredibly anti-Russia and anti-Russian government. So they have this case with Alexei Navalny, and even though he's a despicable figure and he has odious beliefs and he's a terrible neoliberal, racist neoliberal, they will jump to his defense because that's what the Democratic Party allows. And so it's so
He'll be back. Yeah.
They might be picking on him.
Yeah, they might be picking on him. They're tuning in. They're like, this guy's making too many good points.
Yeah, you could be against political prisoners, but like to focus on him and act like this is the political prisoner we all need to sing the praises of and leap to the fence. Like, no, you can if you have this general position for all political prisoners, have at it. But the fact that they're selectively doing it for Navalny and silent on Julian Assange, it's clear that they don't care about the principle. It's just this is convenient for the narrative, the hawkish narrative the Democratic Party is pushing about Russia.
Yeah, let's give our final words here because we're.
Can I give a?
Yeah. Just after you finish, Marcus, just let people know where they can find you and all that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, the thing which caught me the most off guard about that statement was not the stupidity of it. And follow with me for a moment. He is from that area, right? Poland, right? You know, that those people in that area originate from the Caucasus Mountain. Now you're telling Muslims to go back to where you came from. That
right.
I mean, that's just the logic is so off and backwards because yeah, maybe you should tell them to go south instead of, north. I don't know.
The wrong way, right? Yeah.
Wrong geography there.
Yeah.
But yes, I am Marcus Cage. My channels, and I say just write down Marcus Cage. Remember Marcus Cage, and that will help you find my channels. The Political Matrix is my platform, which is on Saturday nights. On Sundays, I have What We've Been Thinking with Marcus Cage. And then I have my new channel where I'm just starting out uploading videos, and it's called Hebrew Apologetics with Marcus Cage. Yes, and just follow me on Twitter if you're not already.
Yeah, Marcus is awesome. I love having him on, man. He brings up a lot of great points, a lot of knowledge, brings up a lot of history. It's a great addition always to the panel. And
Thank you.
Tom Coffee, where can people find you and Coffee and Nuance?
Yeah, so thanks. This was actually cool. This is my first stream ever. and I'm pretty happy with it, right?
I'm glad you liked it.
But yeah, my name's Tom Coffey. I'm on all social medias at Coffee and Nuance. All the alt tech video platforms as well. Everything is mirrored on Odyssey and Library and BitChute and all that good stuff. Coffee and Nuance, thanks for being such a great audience. I appreciate it. And thanks to the panel for a great discussion. This was awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Now the amazing Dontel of Unapologetic.
So my name is Dontel Hines, host of Unapologetic. And you can find me on youtube.com/unapologetic, on Twitter at unapologeticyt. In the About page of my YouTube channel, I'll have the links to Patreon, PayPal, all those different things. And I'm very grateful that you had me on your panel. It was a great discussion, and looking forward to being on your next panel.
All right, there you guys have it. And I am Franco, host of Frank Analysis. You can find me on Odyssey. You can find me on Rockfin. And I am at B43Franco on Twitter. So yeah, thank you guys so much. I love you guys for tuning in. You guys have been helping me out so much. I feel very united with you guys who are, helping me out during these times when I've been demonetized. You guys showed a lot of support, and just know that I really appreciate that, man. You guys keep my head up. And yeah, thank you guys. Don't forget to like this video, share this video, subscribe to this channel if you've not yet subscribed to this channel, and of course subscribe to everybody who's here on this panel, to their channels. And take care, everybody. Don't forget to stay informed and stay conscious.